Hello everyone, I am Neha Kazi from Leelavati Lalji Dayal High School and College of Commerce. In our English grammar lesson today, we are going to talk about figures of speech. So, figure of speech is a word or phrase that possesses a separate meaning from its literal definition. Alright, so it is more about your imagination. Okay, so literal meaning is what? It's basically the dictionary meaning. But when we are talking about figures of speech, they give more emphasis. They give a very vivid picture, and it gives food to our imagination. All right, so that's what figures of speech are. So let us see how many figures of speech we're going to do in this chapter. So first one is simile. So a simile is a comparison between two unlike things using the words like or as. Okay, it is a direct comparison. Why? Because we are taking two unlike things and we are comparing both with one common quality. And we are stating that one common quality also. He fought like a lion. Okay, it's a direct comparison. We are comparing a person along with a lion by the one quality of fighting. Okay, he eats like a pig. So their eating habit is being compared here. He is as wise as an owl. So here again there is a comparison between a bird and a human being with one common quality. So simile is always a direct comparison. Alright, and we will always use the words like or as when it is a simile. Okay, so simile is very easy to identify. You have the words like or as, and it is a comparison, a direct comparison between two unlike things. Now metaphor. Metaphor is also a comparison, but here again, it is an implied meaning. Two unlike objects, okay, same like simile, but it is an indirect comparison. Why? Because here we are not giving any common quality. We are not stating any common quality in the sentence. So heart of stone. Time is money. The world is a stage. She's a night owl. Now, why is she a night owl? We did not give a reason here, correct? Why we are comparing a girl with an owl. Alright, so that is how your metaphors are. They are indirect comparisons, okay? So that's about simile and metaphor. Let's proceed and see the next one. Alliteration, this is basically the repetition of the beginning sounds of words. So your consonant sounds are basically repeated. See here, she sells seashells. So the sound of S is repeated. Walter wondered where Winnie was. Again, the sound of W is repeated. Nick needed new notebooks. Again, the sound of N is repeated here. Alright, students, so alliteration is basically your beginning sound. Okay? And repetition means the complete word or phrase or sentence is repeated. So when we say twinkle, twinkle, little star. So twinkle, twinkle, the word twinkle is repeating here. So that becomes repetition. See here. Bob brought boxes and boxes of bricks. Now this is alliteration and repetition both. See here, boxes and boxes. Repetition. Why alliteration? Because Bob brought boxes and boxes of bricks. And her ways are the ways of gentleness. So ways and ways are repeating here. So that is why it becomes repetition. I stand and I look at the long and long. So long and long, the entire word is repeated. So it becomes repetition. Let's see the next two. So we have exclamation, very easy to identify. If there's an exclamation mark, it becomes exclamation. So exclamation form is used to draw greater attention. What a wonderful dress. Alas, the king is no more. Then comes an interrogation. Again, very easy. Question mark. Interrogation means you're asking something. But these are rhetorical questions, all right? Which means no answer is expected here. All right, let us see the examples now. We'll talk about it. So the first example here we have is, am I my sister's keeper? Shall I be wasting time like this? So these are rhetorical questions. Again, easiest way to identify is a question mark. All right. Let's see the next two. We have antithesis and oxymoron. Now both are about opposites. Okay. So antithesis is where opposite words or ideas are placed in the same sentence. All right. So we have man proposes, God disposes. Speech is silver, but silence is golden. Speech and silence, opposite, silver, golden, opposite, right? So that is how our antitheses are. Opposite words or ideas are placed in the same sentence, okay? Now let's talk about oxymoron. Now two contradictory qualities of the same things are stated together, okay? See the example, her book is completely incomplete. Now, complete and incomplete are two exact opposite words. Okay, contradictory means opposite words. And we have used it together. Correct? I told her to act naturally. Now, acting is the opposite of being natural. But here, what are we saying? Act naturally. So, these are oxymorons. Let us see the next two. We have climax and anticlimax. So climax is where the ideas are arranged in an ascending order. All right. So he worked for days, months, and years on this project. So days, months, and years. Okay. I came, I saw, I conquered. So this is what our climax is. In very simple words, ideas are arranged in an ascending order, which means lower to higher. An anticlimax is the opposite of climax. Here, ideas are arranged in a descending order. All right. So he has been working for years, months, and days. Okay, that is why we said it is a descending order. So here we are first talking about years, months, and days. All right. So that's how our climax and anticlimax is. Let us see the next two. So we have hyperbole and euphemism. Let's talk about hyperbole first. So it uses exaggeration for emphasis or effect. In simple words, it is an overstatement. All right, like how we say bada chadakar bolna, that's what our hyperbole is. So I saw 1,000,000 stars. Can we see 1,000,000 stars? No one is unhappy over the whole earth. Now this is definitely an overstatement because there are so many people who are unhappy with something or the other. Correct? So it's an exaggerated statement. It's an overstatement. Now let's talk about euphemism. So here what happens is unpleasant ideas are expressed in a favorable manner. So something which is sad, something which is unpleasant is said it in a nice way. See the example here. He passed away peacefully. Now this is such a shocking thing to, say to somebody that someone is no more, which means someone died. But how did we say that he passed away peacefully or he left for his heavenly abode? All right. He is no more. These are polite ways of saying the thing, which means that a person is dead. Now when we say someone, he is dead, it is so harsh. So we use euphemism here, all right? So it is a polite expression used in a place of words or phrases that might otherwise be considered harsh or unpleasant, okay? Let's see the next two. So we have personification and transferred epithet. Personification is when we are giving human qualities to non-human things, which means inanimate objects are given human qualities. So the flowers nodded. Now nodding is a human quality, right? Can the flowers nod? No. But what are we saying? The flowers nod. It is probably because of the wind, but yet how do we say it? We give it a human quality and say it. So the hills are clapping their hands. Now clapping is what? It's a human quality, right? But what did we say? That the hills are clapping their hands. Again, it's a personification. Human qualities are given to objects, all right, or non-human things. Then let us see transferred epithet. Transferred epithet is where adjective is transferred from one noun to another. When we say epithet, it stands for adjective. So it is transferred from one noun to another. See here, the old pilgrim raised his grey head. Now the hair is grey. The head is not grey. So we have transferred the adjective grey from hair to head. Okay. He slept on a restless bed. Now bed is a noun, but bed is not restless. The person, he, alright, he is restless. A person is restless, correct? But here, rather than calling the person restless, we said that the bed is restless. He slept on a restless bed. Okay, so that's transferred epithet, where we are transferring the adjective, the quality, from one noun to another. Let us see the next two now. So we have apostrophe here, which means direct address is made to something abstract, dead or absent, which means something which is not present in front of you. We directly address them. Oh death, come and take me away. Can we see that? Are we talking to death? But here we are actually addressing death, right? Irrespective of the fact if it is there, not there, listening to us, not listening to us. Okay? Oh solitude, where are thy charms? Again, solitude is what you feel, right? So here still it's an abstract thing, but we are addressing it, right? The next one we have is a synecdoche. So it is a part, it's a figure of speech where a part is used for whole and vice versa. Okay? So give us our daily bread. Your daily bread stands for your earnings. Okay? Then he purchased new wheels. Now here the wheels stand for the car. Alright, that's your synecdoche. Let us see the next two. So we have pun. Pun is a play of words. It's a very interesting figure of speech. So it makes use of words that have more than one meaning, or words that sound similar but have different meanings to create humorous effect. So I was struggling to figure out how lightning works, but then it struck me. So lightning struck, and here when we say it struck me, which means he understood what it is. So it's a play of words, all right? The life of a person depends on his liver. Now your liver has two meanings. One, the person who is living his life, and second, the liver, which is a part of our body, right? So it's a play of words. Then we have onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is sound. So a sound is produced. There will be words in the sentence where the meaning of these words only will be a sound. All right. So let's see the example. Then the whining school boy. Okay. Now here whining is what your sound is. And buzzed the name of God. Buzzed. Buzzing is a sound. Okay. So that is onomatopoeia, where sound is produced. Let's see the next two. We have inversion and tautology. So inversion is what? Words are not in the correct order, in a correct prose order. Okay. So shocked I was. Now when in a correct prose order, when we are writing this, it will be I was shocked. But here what is written? Shocked I was. So poets generally use inversion if they want to, have rhyming or more poetic effect. Tomorrow will come the decision. Now the correct order of the sentence is the decision will come tomorrow. But here in inversion, how we have written it? Tomorrow will come the decision. Alright. So this is inversion. The next one we have is tautology. Now tautology means words of similar meanings are used in a sentence. Again, for more emphasis or for an effect. I rejoiced at the happy sight. So happy and rejoiced are of the same meaning. It is hot boiling water. Now boiling water is obviously hot, correct? So hot and boiling will stand for the same meaning. Alright. So tautology is when we are using similar meaning words in a sentence. Alright students. So that's all in figures of speech. I hope you all have understood this. Thank you so much.